Imagine being thrown off a 50-foot bridge with a 100-foot bungee cord. It's Steve. You know me as Steve the guardrail guy, but let me talk to you as Hannah's dad for a minute. I normally shoot shorts. I can't do it. I don't have enough time. So I've done over 1,000 news stories. Tons of those news stories have gotten, they've won awards for these reporters. National Edward R. Murrow Award, multiple regional Emmys. I've got a regional Emmy sitting in my house at home. Here, I've got goats and chickens. I'm not exactly... I have a hard time staying in frame, but somehow Hannah's story and what happened to her, it's connected. I can't explain it apart from the sovereignty of God. You know, what man meant for evil, God meant for good. Recently, let me go back to those stories. When I do a story with Legacy Media, you know, Hannah's case came to a satisfactory conclusion. I'm not here to rehash the past. The facts are what they are on the public record. But every time I do a story, a very expensive DC-based publicist will reach out. Her name's Tamara Hinton, and let everyone know that the X-Lite guardrail system in Hannah's crash functioned exactly as designed. I've never disputed that. The 3 panels of the X-Lite telescoped fully, and then it speared into Hannah's vehicle. I don't know why we're rehashing the past, but I agree, Tamara. We're on the same page. But that's kind of the problem, is how in the world can a system on America's roadside function exactly as designed and produce this level of outcomes? But again, this isn't about Steve and Lindsay or anything like that. This is about, I'm here as Hannah's dad. I've been looking at the data recently, and over 1,000 people have died in similar type crashes involving guardrail end terminals installed on the interstate, like Hannah was. The issue is that these end terminals are being crash tested only at 62.2 miles per hour, but in being installed at speeds of 70 and 75 and even 85 miles per hour in Texas. They can't meet that. They can't meet the demand. I recall there was an email that was used in Hannah's federal court trial. It was public. And it warned, it's like our state's asking about excess capacity, because when you hit the end of a system with slider panels, it's kind of like hitting what they said was, quote, a brick wall. The individual responded that we have to meet the testing standards, and that excess capacity in a guardrail end terminal, like in Hannah's crash, so to say, was, quote, a bonus. I don't buy that. I don't buy that it was a bonus. So, this has been one of the issues that I've been really passionate about, is this issue of placing guardrail end terminals on the interstates at speeds way below where we were testing them. It's based on decades old, like at least 3, almost 4 decade old studies, when our vehicle fleet was much, much smaller, and was our speeds were lower. Our posted speed limits have gone way up. So it was based on a study that was conducted shortly after the national speed limit was raised from 55 miles per hour. It's flawed. The Federal Highway Administration, they constantly speak of making data-driven decisions. Oh my gosh, I'm not even going to go there, because I'm not going to go there. Anyways, Talk about making data-driven decisions. If your data is flawed, if your data is antiquated, if your data is been manipulated to meet what you want to accomplish, it's going to produce deadly outcomes. So let me fast forward. Recently, I know kind of what's going on in this industry now. I learned of a new terminal called the NGT, Next Generation Technology Non-Gating Terminal. And it was interesting, but it became deeply personal for me. One of the top things that I'd like to do is I'd like to solve the underlying issue in Hannah's crash. You know, I've gotten probably approaching $500 million worth of guardrails fixed. I've gotten state and federal laws passed. And it means a lot. But when you kneel on the side of the interstate where your daughter breathed her last, you'd like to solve that problem. Well, the next gen terminal, they crash tested it, according to MASH at Carco Labs out in California, where a lot of these folks have crash tested their terminals. Again, 62.2 miles per hour. Well, recently they conducted 2 more crash tests at Blazer. That's at Barber Motorsports in Birmingham, Alabama. They ran a test with a sedan at 74.5 miles per hour. System passed. They ran a test at 77.5 miles per hour with a 5,000 pound pickup at a 5-degree angle, and I've not ever seen performance like what I saw. And I know that system, Next Gen, the company that's manufacturing it, entered production just recently. And you know, I always ask for a lot. Called up and I said, hey, I know you've entered production. I don't have a lot of money here, but I'd like to buy production model 1. I want it installed where my daughter crashed because I want to start this discussion about high-speed impacts and the lack of testing. We're installing guardrails tested at 62.5 miles per hour at much higher speeds. It's got to change. We have 1,000 people that are dead hitting guardrail end terminals on the interstate over the last 15 years of data, according to FARS, which is from the federal government. I want that discussion to start where my daughter crashed. And you know, there's other good terminals out there. I think there's at least 2 of the MASH systems that could pass, that will pass a 75-mile-an-hour crash test. There's a third that I think probably will pass. The fourth, I'm not holding my breath on. Anyways, I just simply don't believe we should be selling 100-foot bungee cords for 50-foot bridges. That's insane. So this last week, you know, I went down to Nashville, Tennessee, to the state capitol. I was able to meet with the chair of the Tennessee Senate's Transportation Committee. I met with Representative Lowell Russell, who is my state representative, is on the Transportation Committee and on the subcommittee related to safety. We talked about this issue, and it's shocking. Every time somebody hears, wait, we're putting 62.5 mile per hour terminals on 70 mile an hour locations. Yes, we are. So I received a warm reception. I mean, nobody's going to commit to say, hey, we're going to do this. But you know, Ollie, y'all know, Commissioner Ely, Governor Lee, Governor Lee, you know what it's like to be where I am. You remember being in that A-frame building in Farragut, Tennessee. You were behind Representative Black and Randy Boyd in the polls. You were nothing. I remember talking to you and seeing somebody who experienced real loss. You've been where I've been. You know what it's like. We have a solution. And I know TDOT is receptive to this system. I mean, Ollie was at the crash test. He saw it. Well, I'm not asking you to expedite approval. I want you to go through the full vetting process, because I know what a flawed vetting process looks like. I know the consequences of a flawed vetting process when it comes to a guardrail end terminal. But the thing is, I'm asking you to expedite a proper review of the system. Because the first one, you know, they're going to bring that up here. They've agreed to install it at no charge to the state. The first one's going to be installed where Hannah died. There's 1,000 other families. And they're already reaching out to me and saying, I want this where my child died, where my spouse died. There's a day coming, and it's not going to be soon. It's not going to be soon enough, where the last person dies on our interstate system, hitting a guardrail end terminal that was only crash tested to 62.5 miles per hour. I don't know where it's going to be, whether it'll be Tennessee or Rhode Island or California or Washington State. I don't know where that final crash will take place. But if we don't start to solve this problem, it's going to take longer than necessary, and more people are going to die. So, Governor Lee, Commissioner Ely, Senator Massey, Lieutenant Governor McNally, Representative Russell, I'm asking you guys, get to the table. Let's look at the data. Let's get the system fixed, or get the system vetted. And after it passes that vetting, let's get it approved. Let's get this first one installed. Join me. Join me out there where my daughter died, because history of guardrail is going to pivot on where her crash took place. This is going to set off a race to the top. When Dr. Sicking, who invented the NGT, invented the ET2000, the first energy absorbing terminal, it set off a similar race. Unfortunately, somehow we got sidetracked, and we let the hedge funds and these billion-dollar corporations that answer to the quarterly reports for their shareholders determined that we were going to have a race to the bottom where we degraded our terminals, and we didn't care how many people died hitting inferior products. Guess what? Those days are over. Those days are over. The race has started. The race to the top. Creative destruction is a concept where through creation you destroy what's already there. My goal is to destroy the guardrail industry as we know it now. But listen to me. We're not going to... We have folks that are fighting over millions or tens of millions of dollars. Be prepared, because we're about to fight over billions of dollars. You can follow the dinosaurs, you can follow the corruption and fight over those tens of millions, or you can join the future where we're going to be investing billions of dollars in infrastructure improvements. The status quo is over. The battle for the future of the guardrail industry has begun. You better pick your sides, and you better pick them right. Let's get this first system installed where Hannah died. Let's start that battle right now.